Okay, so we have an endpoint that we can hit here, API/course, that retrieves a JSON representation of an array of courses that we inserted manually. So we want to be able to retrieve this programmatically, not manually. We want to do it programmatically from the client. So let's take a look at that. So we already have a client. It's a React client. So this is the server side. Let's go. Let's see. Where are we? Let's go up twice, and let's go down to the lectures. And here we have the Java server. This is the same Java server we've been working for a couple of weeks. And this is the new React client we implemented early last week. So let's go in there. Oops. CD, web dev. Oops, where am I? Let's see, Januzzi, web dev, CD 2018. Let's go to summer 2. Let's go to lectures. And let's go to web dev client. And this is React. Excellent. Let's start it. We can say npm start. So this is going to start the React server, React client we've been working with. It looks like we already have someone listening at 3,000. Probably, is it here? Yeah, it's listening here. Okay, let me close that. And let me close that. Oh, let me start that again. Okay, now we have the client up and running. All right, so we have the whiteboard. This is the entry point, and we want to be able to retrieve the list of courses. And down below, we have a couple of things we were playing around with, right? Just the modules and whatnot. So let's display the courses here, right? All right, so let's see. We have the whiteboard, I believe, down here. We have right. We had commented out the course list. Let's comment out the module list. So let's uncomment the course list. Let's see what we have so far. There we are. So we have the courses right now is a title. It's a table of several hard-coded course rows. So we want to display here the courses from the server. So let's see the implementation that we currently have. There it is. So it lives in its own file, which is great. It's under course list in the containers. Excellent. And right now it's declaring the state. And what we wanted to be able to do is declare the state as an empty array first, and then go and fetch several courses whenever the module, this particular component loaded, right, after it loaded. So this is what we want to be able to do, right? We want to change the state to be a list of courses. So presumably it might have wanted to go to find all courses, which we implemented it here. So it probably did. It did actually, maybe it even tried to go out here. I don't know if it actually was able to do anything. Let's see if it failed. Let's look at the, okay, it looks like it failed. Let's see the console. Right, actually tried to go to this URL, whiteboard.heroku.com/API/course. Right, this is the entry point. This is the find all courses. So notice what's happening, right? So the component gets instantiated. It first initializes the state to be courses, an empty array. Then later, right, a little later, after the component has mounted, or it will try to use the course service, which is implemented here. It will try to call the find all courses method over here, right? Which is basically this function right here, which is using this URL to try and fetch this course. But currently, we're not trying to hit some remote server. Really, we want to hit which one? We want to hit localhost 8080, right? That's where our server is currently running, right? It's this one right here. It's this one, localhost 8080 API/course. Yes? All right. Okay, so let's see. All right, so instead of one error, now we got two errors. So, all right, so notice that what's happening here is it's saying that we have an access control allow origin error. If we look at the network, there's our query right there. See that? It's oh, actually, it's coming back. Wait, where's the error that we got? Okay, the browser is trying to stop us, right? Stop us because what's happening is that our particular application, the RESTful, our React application, is running at localhost 3000. Yes, and the browser considers this to be a particular domain, right? And instead, we're trying to hit another domain at localhost 8080. Right? And the browser says this is not allowed normally, right? It's considered to be a cross-origin violation, right? That typically what the browser does is that when it downloads JavaScript from a server, it keeps track of where did it download it from, right? And early on, when JavaScript was in its infancy, folks were concerned, right? That hey, you're downloading this executable, from somewhere, from some domain, and it's executing in my local machine, right? And some folks consider this to be dangerous. It says, wait, what do you mean I'm downloading something and then a browser is just going to execute this on my local machine? So folks said, well, no, I don't want that to happen, right? What if it could, try to read stuff from my hard drive, or it can make network connections or sniff as I type. So early on to allay some of these concerns, folks says, okay, well, what we'll do is that we'll restrict what a JavaScript executable can do when it gets downloaded from a server. For instance, it won't have access to your file system. If it needs to make a network connection, we will only make it so that it can go back and connect to the server that it was downloaded from. Presumably, you're navigating to a website. Presumably, you have voted to trust this website, and so it would be presumably okay for a JavaScript to make a network connection back to its home base, right, from where it was downloaded. And so browsers started to impose some of these restrictions, right? Not all browsers. So one of the restrictions is that you cannot go and connect to other domains, right? If you were downloaded from localhost 3000, you should not be allowed to communicate with other domains like localhost 8080. Make sense? Okay, and that's fine. So that proved okay for quite a while, but today it's becoming more and more common that we accept the fact that data is just, there's lots and lots of data out there that is made freely available by quite a few folks, right? That had owned this data for quite a while. They want to monetize this data, and they want you to integrate with their data. But there's this problem of the browser stopping you from this, okay, from connecting. So there has been several techniques to get around this issue. There's some accepted hacks. One of them is JSON-P. We'll take a look at that a little later. But that's a kind of like a hack to get around this security issue, and it was kind of an accepted hack in the industry. But more recently, there has been some efforts at standardizing this and allowing browsers to allow JavaScript to make network connections other than the original intended where it was downloaded from. Okay, so the protocol, it's the coarse cross-origin resource sharing. It's a protocol that allows JavaScript that have been downloaded from one domain to be allowed to talk to and make network connections to other domains. Right? And the way it works is that the server needs to configure, right? The server that you're trying to hit, right? Needs to be configured to allow network connections from other domains. right? So you can configure Tomcat or and other servers to say, hey, I'm going to allow network connections from JavaScript that have been downloaded from a completely different domain, right? And the way you configure it is either in configuration files and XML files or properties files, or, as we'll see in a minute, using Spring Boot. Right? Spring Boot, you can also configure cross-domain origin, cross-origin resource sharing. And the way it works is that the browser will first make a call to the server and say, hey, server, this JavaScript that was downloaded from domain A wants to talk to you, domain B. Is it okay? And the server can say yes or no. Right? And if the server says no, then the browser goes back to the script and posts this ugly error saying, sorry, the server said no, you cannot talk to that server. Okay? It's not configured to accept cross-origin resources. All right. All right. So let's configure. Let's configure the server so that it will allow queries. And I think I had it somewhere here. Course or cross? Do I have it? No, I don't have it here. So probably, let's see if I remember. All right, so this can be annotated as cross-origin. There it is. Allowed origins and probably star. Right? Anybody who's done this? Is that the right configuration to allow for everybody? I think so, right? Yeah. So what this says is that you can list here. You can list either the domains that you're going to accept the queries. Right? It says it's okay that JavaScript from domain A contacts me, but it's not okay from anybody else. Okay? Or as follows, you can say star, meaning I don't care from what domain they come. Right? I'm open to everybody. Right? So if you want to come and ask me for any data, it's okay. Right? So if we do that and we restart the server, and this is very common when you want all sorts of folks to integrate with you, right? So if you have a very generic or very common list of data that is widely desired by many API or many clients, oftentimes you will configure it to allow access from anybody. Okay, like mostly most modern websites out there, Yelp, Yumly, Amazon, Best Buy, so all these large box stores, right, that provide an API so that you can integrate with them. They'll have something like this configured. They'll accept from anywhere. Yes, they might allow certain operations to be accessible through if you have a particular partnership, where Ford Motor Company only accepts requests from certain providers, right? Then they'll maybe reduce it to a particular domain, right, for security purposes. It says no, only my partners on this particular domain, then I'll accept those queries. All right. But if we have something common, this will do. All right. So let's go back. And let's refresh. Okay, so this time around it did not complain. It did not complain. We did not get the error. And the network, this is the course. And notice that it's the JSON data that we are getting here manually. Here we are now receiving it programmatically. Right? It's this query over here. Did we print it out to the console? I forget. We did not. We did not. So we're here, right? Find all courses that is being used by the component, this component, and it's setting it to the array of courses. And down below here, right now we are just iterating over a hard-coded list of courses, course rows, right? Instead, what we'd like to be able to do is dynamically render one course row per object of course in the array, right? So something like, so let's remove that hard-coded list, and instead let's iterate over this. So we'll say So this will be this dot state dot courses dot map. We'll map over that, right? So we'll iterate over each one of them. As we iterate, the map function will pass us, right, to a function that we declare in here. Will pass us each object one at a time, right? So we'll say course. Here, that's the course that we're passing. And what we're going to do is that we're going to return, right, for each course that we're passed in, we're going to return a course row instance. Right? So if we do that, notice that now we have 3 courses, right? Because we get 3 courses from the server. It's complaining. What is it complaining? Oh, we don't have a key, so it's okay. We'll add a key. So remember, the map function, as it iterates, it calls your function. It passes 2 arguments. The first argument is the object as it iterates over the array of objects. The second argument is the index as it iterates, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So this syntax, if we are going to receive 2 arguments, we need to add a parentheses, right? If it's just 1 argument, the parentheses is optional. But if there's 2 arguments, you need to put it in 2 or more arguments. You need to put in parentheses. So that's the second argument, the index, and we can use that as the key here. We can say key. The unique key is the expression index. Right, there we go. So all right, so no longer is it complaining about the key, so it's great. And what we could do here, instead of rendering this hard-coded course row, we'll pass the course object down to the component so that it can extract maybe the title and render the actual title. Right? So we can pass it along, saying that maybe as a course, and we'll pass in the actual course object. Okay? Which I believe right now it's ignoring. Right? It's not even looking at it. So let's go down to the course row and see what it's rendering. Right now, it's rendering this hard-coded course row. What I'd like to be able to do is take a look at the course object that is being passed to us as an argument, right, and retrieve the title from in there. Right? So we can do that by accessing this attribute. Right? This attribute is passed to the component as a property, right, of the same name. Right? So this course and any other attribute that gets passed in here gets passed as a map of properties. Okay? In this case, we only have 2 properties, the key and the course. And the course itself is an object. Right? So we can retrieve here. We can retrieve from the properties. So these are all the properties. It's a map of properties, which this includes including the course property. So whatever we called it here, that's how you can retrieve it here. Right? And that's an object. And the object has an element title in there. Okay? So if we take a look at this, notice that indeed we have the title in there now. Right? So we retrieve from the server. Everybody okay? Right? And let's remove maybe this from here. And we have retrieved the courses from there. All right? Everybody good? All right, so let's take a look at being able to perhaps add a new course or remove an existing course, right? Or edit one of these courses. All right, so let's take a look at that next.